6 days to Bash at the Beach. Hulk Hogan remained off TV for the final build-up to his title match with Jarrett, while Vince Russo remained working from home with his first show back in person after 3 weeks out, scheduled to be the pay-per-view on Sunday. Also set to be the first face-to-face meeting of Russo and Bischoff since the meeting with Brad Siegel in LA that saw Russo confronting Siegel and offering to resign, with talks on creative dispute between Hogan, Russo and Bischoff going on during the week, with Hogan reportedly refusing Russo's planned finish of having Jarrett retain the belt, with the majority of the pay-per-view hype on television centered around the Goldberg vs. Nash match for Scott Hall's contract in what is said to be Goldberg's first pay-per-view match since December '99 and Hall's first TV appearance since February, with Goldberg coming out midway through the first hour for the final hype promo to the match, cutting off an outsider's video package from the production truck, saying that ever since Hall and Nash got to WCW all they did was try to undermine and destroy the company while the fans in every building cheered them, saying that he carried the company on his back for the last 2 years and he's gonna take both of them out on Sunday to bring out Nash for a brawl, with Scott Hall's status for the show still in question despite the entire pay-per-view hype built around his appearance, with Goldberg having legit heat with Hall going back to the night in December where Goldberg smashed the limousine window an hour after legitimately confronting Hall backstage at the Thunder taping due to him going off script on Goldberg during his promo on the night. With different issues going on with Goldberg and Hogan having disputes with management, another major one came on the Thunder taping last Tuesday with Scott Steiner after being booked to lose to Mike Awesome in the main event of the show, confronting current head writer Terry Taylor and reportedly aggressively threatening him in combination of the match finish and a production timing issue during his entrance, leading to Steiner, who has already been suspended this year in February after going off script to cut a shoot promo on Ric Flair, being suspended again for this week's TV with his return set for Sunday. Nitro's lead-in segment to the top of the hour saw Jeff Jarrett coming out to hype his title match with Hogan, saying that Hogan was once the man but he's gonna retire him on Sunday, saying that he's gonna give him the send-off he deserves by bringing out 3 opera singers to sing for the end of his career, with Jarrett playing off the fat lady saying constantly calling the singers fat to bring out the head of standards and practices to end the segment, with Jarrett continuing to call them fat before laying out the TNT representative with a guitar shot to the head, playing off an infamous legit issue happening back in December '99 where Russo got a call from standards and practices to change the original TV script on the night due to him having a Roddy Piper skit calling a woman fat when arriving to the building, with the effect of the show coming a day before the 4th of July, seeing Nitro dropping significantly to start the first opposed quarter, also featuring a Booker vs. Shane Douglas match with a 1.9 rating. With Raw's television future now known and further cemented during the week, with TNN announcing the cancellation of WCW's show on the network with the final broadcast set for September 22, the WWF started a fresh product direction on July 3 with the addition of Mick Foley back full-time in a series of comedic segments and 3 new top programs all set to start on the night, opening Raw with Triple H seeing Foley backstage to set up a Rikishi vs. Hunter IC title match, followed by a European title match kicking off the first quarter with Eddie Guerrero defending the belt against Chris Benoit, going 4 minutes with Benoit laying out Eddie with a belt shot for the DQ finish before also taking out Chyna with a crossface in a segment building up the heat for Benoit for later tonight, with Mick Foley out next for a promo. As the holiday week due to less people watching television on the night led to Raw and Nitro taking a hit, starting with one of the lowest combined viewerships in years with a combined 5.9 rating. Foley said that major changes already took place with him just 1 week in the job, including a new WWF champion, the faction splitting up and the company stock going through the roof, going over to the #1 contender to bump up the building and bring out Rock to the ring, with Rock, after recapping their history, welcoming him back, as Foley congratulated Rock for now being a joint record 5-time WWF champion, asking him how he feels to set up one of the memorable Raw moments of the year, with Foley getting Rock with the "It doesn't matter" catchphrase to a huge reaction from the crowd, with Foley later revealing that the idea for the segment came from Rock's suggestion, with him coming up to him after his return last Monday, saying that he recently watched back some of their Rock and Sock segments from last year and had the idea for Foley finally getting him back with his own catchphrase, followed by Shane making his return after selling an injury from the Taker King of the Ring bump through the table in the past week, saying that he watched his family embarrassing themselves in public and it's time for him to take over, ending up with Foley getting the idea to make him the #1 contender and set up a Rock vs. Shane title match in the main event, with this segment jumping over 1.4 million viewers to the highest rated opposed quarter of the night 5.1 rating. Minutes after Nitro fell to one of its lowest quarters in history, 1.6 rating, going against the Rock Foley segment on Raw, Nitro, despite going against another big star power match with Triple H vs Rikishi going on at the same time, rebounded over 800,000 viewers from a show low 1.6 to a head-to-head quarter-high 2.2 rating for a David Flair segment with Daphne Hancock and Crowbar, followed by a Filthy Animals vs Lance Storm and Kidman tag match going 4 minutes. Raw continued to load up the first hour with Rikishi vs Triple H for the IC title set up by Foley during the first minute of the show coming next, with the match immediately following the first hour high 5.1 rating for the Foley Rock Shane segment minutes earlier, dropping to a 4.6 rating, going 5 minutes with Jericho again attacking Hunter to lead to a double count-out finish, with Hunter confronting Foley moments later, with Foley in response booking Jericho in a handicap match with X-Pac and Road Dogg for later tonight. With Scott Steiner suspended for the week, Mike Awesome, after taking out 4 people in separate ambulances, came out to open Nitro's final quarter, calling out Steiner to the ring, knowing that he's not in the building, before ordering the ref to count him out for a second victory on him before their match on Sunday, bringing out Rick Steiner instead, telling him to make sure there are not any Steiners in the building, with Nash coming out at 9:58 p.m. for the main event, with Hogan advertised for the main event title match on Sunday without making a TV appearance throughout the build-up. The WWF had some cable providers advertising the fully loaded pay-per-view with a poster of Steve Austin, including a written preview by mistake or not promoting Austin for the event, with him not set to return for at least 2 more months. Nitro went 3 minutes past the top of the hour and gained over 1 million viewers to peak at a 2.6 overrun, featuring the finish of the Nash-Goldberg Battle Royal, with Nash going through the heel group until Goldberg ran in to take him out, ending up with Booker leading the babyface group and Nash eliminating Goldberg to go over and end the show in a pull-apart brawl for the go-home segment to the pay-per-view. While Raw crossed over 10 p.m. with Mick Foley saying that the Jericho vs DX match will be a handicap match but 3-on-2 instead of 2-on-1 to bring out the Dudleys, with the quarter which went 12 minutes unopposed and saw the 3-on-2 match in the first half and a Taker and Kane vs Edge and Christian tag titles match in the second half picked up around 1 million viewers to a 5.7 rating. With Hunter and Jericho officially starting their feud, Angle attacking Taker to set up their match and Rock about to get a new contender for the title. The company, after closing the Rock vs McMahon-Helmsley regime program that dominated television in the past 6 months, starting a new fresh direction with Foley replacing Vince as the on-screen authority figure and Rock, Taker and Hunter all starting potential star elevating programs against new opponents, with Vince while off television preparing for the now official move from the USA Network to Viacom in September, with TNN announcing on Thursday the official cancellation of ECW from the network, sending a press release saying that ECW has failed to meet rating performance targets while thanking the company and Paul Heyman for their efforts, with Raw's upcoming move to TNN getting big media coverage due to its status as the top show on cable, predicting TNN, which ranked number 19 in June compared to the Raw-driven USA at number 1 in primetime, to now become one of the most important networks in cable television, noting that Raw held 26 out of the top 27 most watched hours on cable in the second quarter of 2000, with Viacom's multi-million-dollar marketing campaign around Raw's switch to TNN about to start in the coming weeks to create massive hype for the move in less than 3 months. The Rock vs Shane McMahon in the rematch of the most-watched match in Raw history on May 1 was again set to headline Raw, with their unusual combination gaining reputation as one of the most proven in the business, with Rock vs Shane always doing huge numbers, looking to continue on the night with the entrances starting a minute from the top of the hour, with Rock coming out already past 11 p.m. as Shane took the microphone before the bell saying that he's still carrying ribs and knee injuries while offering Rock to join him in taking over the company, ending up with Rock laying him out for what looked like a quick match before Chris Benoit attacked Rock, with him aggressively putting the crossface on him for several minutes to build the heat and set up Benoit as the number 1 contender for the title, as on the night both shows took a hit due to the holidays. Raw's TV share remained at normal levels, with the Rock Shane Benoit main event Angle jumping over 1 million viewers to a peak 6.4 rating and over 8.2 million viewers, by far the highest rated and most watched segment on the night. "24 hours after perhaps the most talked about worked shoot angle in wrestling history that saw Vince Russo making his TV return minutes before the scheduled Hogan vs Jarrett title match, ending with Jarrett laying down and Russo coming back out to cut a wild shoot promo on Hogan and the state of WCW in an angle that created huge buzz in the inside audience and led to Booker T going over Jarrett to end the night, winning his first world title. Booker opened Nitro for his title win follow-up promo thanking the crowd for their support throughout his 8 years in the company working towards this moment, while sending a message to the locker room specifically to Bill Goldberg saying that he became a mark for himself and forgot who made him who he is, bringing out Stevie Ray to congratulate his brother before being attacked by Scott Steiner coming after the belt. With Russo, Hogan and Bischoff fall off the show tonight to continue to sell the angle, with Hogan's only public comments coming on a radio show after the event, The announcers didn't explain what happened last night but hyped the pay-per-view replay as the only way for the audience to watch it due to legal reasons, which again blurred the lines with work weeks later turning to shoot. As in the industry that saw everything in the last 4 years of the most competitive product the business has ever seen, with both companies going all out trying every type of angle and storyline. The Hogan-Russo-Bischoff Bash at the Beach swerve was done to perfection, to the point that even the most hardcore fan base was speculating on what was real, and more importantly was so well done that the actual participants worked themselves into a shoot, with Hogan in what ended up his final WCW appearance leaving the building and suing Russo and the company shortly after for the content of the promo in a defamation of character lawsuit, and Russo, who was scheduled to call Hogan on Monday to set up his return in a Hogan vs. Booker title feud, getting the word from WCW Turner supervisor Brad Siegel not to contact Hogan back as the company could no longer afford his contract signed during the peak of its business in mid-98, with Hogan having 2 more pay-per-view events, which includes big guarantees and bonus fees on his current deal, which expires in mid-2002. Booker was set to defend the title for the first time to close the first hour in a match against Mike Awesome, with the majority of it placed in the final quarter of the unopposed hour to cross into 9 p.m., with Booker and Awesome going 8 minutes, with Booker going over to retain, as Booker, who was the creative committee unanimous choice to be the new champion, getting more positive signs on the show, with the match drawing a 3.6 rating. The highest rated quarter on the Nitro broadcast in 2 months since the peak of the Flair vs. Russo feud in May, with Nitro's first opposed quarter after the finish of the Booker-Awesome match going to a commercial break before returning with Cat in the ring to set up the main event, calling out and confronting Scott Steiner before setting up a 4-way #1 contender match for Booker's title with Steiner, Kanyon, Jarrett and Goldberg in less than an hour. With Shane McMahon returning last week alongside Chris Benoit heading into his first pay-per-view main event in the WWF against Rock, Shane and Benoit opened Raw with Shane in his new role as Benoit's mouthpiece, putting him over big to establish him as a headliner, with Benoit taking the microphone next, calling out Rock for tonight, saying that if he beats him in a non-title match he gets the shot on the pay-per-view, bringing out Rock to accept the challenge and set up Rock vs. Benoit for the TV main event 13 days from Fully Loaded, with both Raw and Nitro after taking a hit last Monday due to the holidays coming a day before the 4th of July, rebounding to open closer to normal levels with a 4.6 to 2.4 rating margin. With Scott Hall's future in the company looks to be over after not making an appearance last night at Bash at the Beach despite being heavily pushed during the entire build-up to the headline match of Nash vs. Goldberg, talks escalated during the week on Nash, who has 17 months left on his current WCW contract, to potentially jump to the WWF after already having talks with Vince McMahon earlier in the year, reportedly targeting top programs against Rock and Triple H either as his current character or a last run as Diesel under McMahon. With Nash's contract, who is in the top 5 highest paid performers in the company, is not the only deal looking to enter its final year, with new WCW champion Booker's deal also set to expire in the second quarter of 2001, while the biggest contract in the company in Goldberg having over 2 years on his deal. With Russo and Bischoff not appearing on TV or commenting publicly on the situation, Hogan and Jarrett both did interviews in the past 24 hours, with Jarrett up until today still being worked by Russo into thinking that it was a shoot due to Hogan not wanting to put him over until Russo revealed the plan to him on Monday, saying that there might be more to the situation but if there's he doesn't know about it, while Hogan did a radio interview Monday morning saying that he originally agreed to Russo's plan until being told that there's no follow-up angles for him going forward, telling WCW that he would like to be released with legal letters already sent to the company and he would have been on Raw tonight if he contractually could, putting over Vince McMahon in response to claims that he's too old, saying that Vince is 55 and still one of the top performers in their business, bringing up again the possibility of a Hogan vs. McMahon match at WrestleMania talked about in the past 2 years, with Mick Foley off the show on a legitimate WWF promotional tour in Southeast Asia. The idea on the night was that Foley booked the matches in advance, including a Chris Jericho vs. Road Dogg match coming next, as Raw continued to climb throughout the first hour, with the Jericho Road Dogg match going 5 minutes to a 5.2 rating. Nitro had a commercial-heavy quarter to close its second hour just before the main event and dropped to a show low 1.8 rating, first having a Vampiro promo calling out Demon to lead to another tease for the return of Sting with someone under a mask taking out both, with the idea that Sting is back without having him on the show in person in a similar angle to the Goldberg Monster Truck, followed by the four-way entrances a few minutes from the top of the hour. While at the same time Raw had its biggest viewership jump of the first hour, picking up over 900,000 viewers for Undertaker's promo calling out Kurt Angle to the ring, bringing him out to set up their pay-per-view match at Fully Loaded, before also starting the build-up to the match with Angle gifting him a scooter to set up a chase with Taker throwing it off the stage, with the Taker-Angle segment in a quarter that also saw the first half of a three-way IC title match bumped Raw to a first-hour high 5.8 rating. Nitro's Goldberg-Steiner-Jarrett Canyon four-way main event crossed over into a 4-minute overrun, gaining over 900,000 viewers to a head-to-head peak 2.5 rating, ending up with Goldberg having the match won until the newly turned heel Steiner interfered to set up a Goldberg vs. Steiner pull-apart brawl in a program which was delayed by injuries and was targeted to happen for over a year, as Nitro rebounded from the record low levels of last week to a 2.6 rating overall, with Raw against the WCW four-way match having the finish of a Kane Rikishi Vini's three-way IC title match, going 6 minutes in the first half of the top of the hour quarter while going unopposed from 10:05 p.m. to follow, with Stephanie trying to call out Jericho into a DX trap to pick up to a 6.1 rating. With Raw's move to TNN now set for the end of September, with ECW's show officially cancelled on the network, Paul Heyman's hopes of trying to negotiate a deal to replace Raw in its Monday night time slot on the USA Network, including bringing up the possibility of USA buying and financing the company, took a hit in the past week, with USA announcing that Raw will be replaced by weekly airing of movies at 9 to 11 p.m. on Monday nights, leaving the company again without the exposure of a national TV show, with the final broadcast set for September 22, 3 days before the hyped debut of Raw, with all eyes from both WWF and WCW on the first night trading on the day of the switch, with WCW looking to put on a major show to potentially attract regular Raw viewers, while Raw, which will be backed by a huge marketing campaign of over $8 million, all building and advertising the debut of Raw on TNN. will look to put on a loaded Raw show in one of its biggest events of the year. After averaging a 5.2 rating during the first opposed hour, Raw jumped big after 10 p.m. with the second hour drawing over 8.8 million viewers on the back of two big quarters entering the 7 rating range. First midway through the hour between 10:30 to 10:45 in a quarter featuring a Trish vs. Lita street fight, followed by the impromptu Triple H vs. X-Pac match created in the last 20 minutes after problems in DX throughout the night with Road Dogg leaving the building, going 3 minutes in a legit match before luring Jericho out to the ring to reveal the swerve with all members of DX taking out Jericho in a post-match beatdown segment to build the Hunter vs. Jericho pay-per-view match, bumping Raw to a 7.2 rating. Minutes later, after 2 commercial breaks, Rock and Benoit came out at 10:56 p.m. for the main event, and after showing instant chemistry in the ring since their first match back in February, starting the match at rapid pace to create big anticipation for the pay-per-view headliner after their strong series of TV matches, going 5 minutes into the 6-minute overrun to bump Raw to a peak 7.4 rating with over 9.6 million viewers, continuing to build the heat for Benoit with him again putting Rock in the crossface for several minutes, and Shane revealing a referee shirt and signaling for the bell for Benoit to go over in the non-title match 13 days to the fully loaded pay-per-view. With TNT preempting Nitro to air a movie in its 8 to 10 p.m. time slot, Raw was having their full 2 hours unopposed for a week 6 days to the fully loaded pay-per-view, with Mick Foley after a week out on a company promotional tour in Southeast Asia, returning to open the show talking about what happened between Triple H and Jericho in his 1-week absence and announce their match on Sunday to now be a last man standing match, before being interrupted by Undertaker bringing up his history with Foley saying that he knows him better than most after their series of feuds in the past 4 years, demanding him to book a Taker vs. Angle match for tonight with Kane following to back him up, ending up with Foley booking a Taker and Kane vs. Hunter and Angle tag match, with both showing up on screen going back and forth on not wanting to team with each other to continue the build to their eventual feud, with Raw as shown in most cases in the past 7 months not getting a massive boost of WCW viewership despite going unopposed unless it was on a special occasion, opening with a 5.3 rating, which was still the highest rated opening segment in a month. Rock came out 15 minutes into the show bumping Raw's big star power opening segment over 700,000 viewers to a 5.8 rating, saying that he has a demand of his own, telling Foley to book the WWF title main event against Chris Benoit for tonight to bring him out, with Benoit saying that he had Rock beat every time he put the crossface on him in the past several weeks, setting up Foley not giving away the fully loaded main event but instead booking a 6-man tag match of the 2 title matches on Sunday with Rock and the Acolytes against Benoit, Edge and Christian, closing the over 22-minute segment in a brawl with the rest of the quarter after a commercial break at 9:26 p.m. seeing a Dudleys vs. Hardys tag match going 3 minutes. With the fully loaded pay-per-view advertising building the show around a promoted triple main event, Sunday will also be a major drawing test for the 3 new headliners on the card, with Chris Benoit, Chris Jericho and Kurt Angle all set for their first featured main event spot on a WWF pay-per-view, and with Rock the biggest star in the business, Undertaker's status cemented for years and Triple H elevating his position in the past 6 months with strong numbers in opposition to Rock and Foley. All eyes will be on Jericho, Angle and Benoit if pay-per-view buys for Fully Loaded not matching the high standards the company set so far this year, with their future as top main eventers will depend on the pay-per-view number on Sunday in addition to their individual quarter-hour ratings, which for the most part has been doing well in the build-up to the event. Raw's big segment of the night came at the top of the hour with The Rock vs Benoit feud taken to the next level 6 days from their pay-per-view main event. First opening Raw's second hour with The Rock and Acolytes vs Benoit Edge and Christian 6-man tag match going 5 minutes, ending up with Rock going after Benoit ringside until Shane's interference to lead to Benoit laying out Rock again with a chair shot to the head while Edge pinned Farouk in the ring. And with the build-up of the Rock-Benoit feud focusing around Benoit's attacks on Rock from behind with Rock not escaping the crossface, the intensity was taken to the next level with Rock this time looking for Benoit backstage before finding him in the locker room to start a wild beat-down segment all over the building, ending with Rock giving Benoit a rock bottom on a limousine before him and Shane escape the Pepsi Arena, with the quarter for the 6-man tag followed by the post-match segment gaining over 800,000 viewers to a 6.5 rating. With Nitro set to air tomorrow in its usual 8 to 10 p.m. hours, TNT's replacement for the night saw the airing of the movie Nuremberg, starting at 8 p.m. for 2 hours before another replay of the movie right after from 10 to 12, and the original airing, which included 1 hour opposed draw, saw the movie drawing a 5.3 rating and over 6 million viewers, almost double the recent Nitro rating on a regular Monday, while the replay going against the second hour of Raw drew in the range of the usual Nitro audience with a 2.8 rating, as Raw after the top of the hour jump for the Rock-Benoit segment maintained the boost for the rest of the broadcast, including the 6.6 quarter between 10:30 to 45 that saw Taz's promo with Mick Foley and Al Snow explaining his recent attacks in random matches to set up a Taz vs Snow match for the pay-per-view Sunday, along with the first half of a Rikishi vs Test match, with Raw's final quarter starting with the post-match angle of Test Albert and Val's brawl with Too Cool that saw Scotty doing the worm in the entrance ramp before being thrown off the stage, and the build to the Vinis vs Rikishi cage match. The entrances for the Angle and Hunter vs Taker and Kane main event took place already past 11 p.m., going 8 minutes in the overrun in a rare Raw main event without Rock, who made his final appearance 45 minutes ago, as the match went 5 minutes with Angle constantly bailing out of the ring to avoid Taker before Chris Jericho made a surprise run-in to attack Hunter and lead to Kane pinning him to go over, closing the show with a Jericho-Hunter brawl with the tag match peaking the night with a 7 rating, as Raw overall, despite going unopposed for the entire 2 hours, drew a routine number with a 6.2 rating. With Scott Steiner's legit reputation as a loose cannon on and off screen known in the past few years, including 2 publicized suspensions from the company just in the past 5 months, Steiner, since turning heel at Bash at the Beach last Sunday, turned the volume on his character, playing off that reputation with the show starting with a video package recapping his history before being shown outside the building smashing Booker's car, as Kat came out hyping a big show for tonight, announcing a full tournament of matches for the US title before Steiner came to the ring demanding a title shot against Booker, starting a brothers brawl with the Steiners against Harlem Heat, with Cat instead booking a big Steiner vs. Goldberg match for the main event. With the constant management and creative switches continuing in the past month, with Russo taking a break to leave the main writing to Terry Taylor and Ed Ferrara for 3 weeks before returning last Sunday to head the committee, which includes Ferrara and Disco. A noticeable change in the past week of WCW television could be seen in match layouts, specifically the false finishes at the end of matches to add more structure and drama to the TV work in the ring, with Johnny Ace the main one behind the recent change, which got positive reviews so far, continuing on the night with most matches having clear finishes and the US title tournament stripped of Steiner, with the next one seeing Lance Storm going over Buff Bagwell with an angle throughout the hour of Canyon attacking Judy in the parking lot while Buff was in the ring. Nitro, after breaking the viewing habit with the show airing a day later, expectedly opened lower than usual despite telling viewers on the Tuesday show in the past week, but with viewers tuning in as the show went on, with the rating increasing in every quarter for the entire 2 hours, having its first significant boost of the night 45 minutes in to close the first hour with 2 tournament matches of Vampiro vs. Muta and Douglas vs. Kidman, along with Steiner sitting near the door waiting for Goldberg to arrive to the building, picking up over 600,000 viewers to a 2.3 rating. Nitro crossed over the top of the hour with the end of the Douglas-Kidman match, followed by Goldberg arriving to the building minutes after 9 p.m. to build anticipation for the upcoming confrontation with Steiner, followed by Tank Abbott introducing 3 count in a ladder match against Young Dragons going 3 minutes, with Goldberg eventually entering the building to start the hyped Steiner-Goldberg backstage brawl at the end of the quarter, doing a 2.4 rating in the build to the main event. The fallout of the Bash at the Beach worked shoot angle continued during the week, with all involved still selling it as a shoot publicly to anyone in the company, including taking Hogan's name out of advertising for the upcoming Australia tour in October, which before the angle promoted him to appear, with Hogan continuing to shoot on Russo in radio interviews, while Russo still didn't contact Hogan back after instructions from Brad Siegel to move ahead without him for now due to massive guarantees percentages of every TV gate and pay-per-view appearance in his contract. As with Hogan, Sting, Luger and Russo all off television for now, Ric Flair, who was part of perhaps WCW's hottest program of the year against Russo, including being written off TV in a major heat angle with Russo shaving his head to build to his comeback, underwent rotator cuff surgery last Friday, with his return set for the next 2 to 3 months after again proving to be one of the company's top TV draws throughout the year. With Steiner, Goldberg and Nash working a 3-way match as the headliner of the next pay-per-view, Booker's first pay-per-view title defense was booked against Jeff Jarrett, building it up with Jarrett attacking Stevie Ray while in his new role on commentary to set up a match between them, with Booker running in for the save, followed by the final of the US title tournament with Mike Awesome vs. Lance Storm going 5 minutes to open Nitro's final quarter, ending with Storm going over to win the belt in his serious Canadian wrestler character, heading into several shows in Canada set for next month. After over 90 minutes of hype, Goldberg and Steiner came out 3 minutes from the top of the hour, with the match which did strong numbers on TV before and was targeted as a main event program since early '99, included potential plans for it to headline Starrcade later in the year, going 5 minutes to cross into the 4-minute overrun, And despite having the disadvantage of being on Tuesday and not being advertised in advance, the Goldberg vs. Steiner match showed a massive interest boost to peak significantly above the show's average rating, jumping over 1.3 million viewers to a peak 3.7 rating, the most watched segment on the night by an over 30% margin, and the highest rated match on the Nitro broadcast in 3 months, ending up with Steiner having Goldberg in the recliner with Booker interfering before Nash made his return to take out both Steiner and Goldberg to close the show. With rumors going around on legit clashes creatively between Bill Goldberg and Vince Russo since he was asked to turn heel and delayed his return during May and June, things reportedly went to the next level during the day on July 24 before Nitro went on the air with Russo and Goldberg going over the planned angles for tonight's show that will see Goldberg doing a rare job, leading to Goldberg clashing with Russo over the long-term plans coming out of the show and not just using him in high-profile matches to pop a rating for the night, with Nitro coming back to its regular Monday night time slot after last week airing on Tuesday, built around Booker and Goldberg with 2 first-time ever matches between them set to be given away on TV, with Booker first hyping his pay-per-view match with Jarrett before being confronted by Goldberg saying that he never had a problem with Booker until he got in his business last week during the match with Steiner, challenging him to put the belt on the line tonight before Cat came out to set up a first-time ever concept with an internet poll on the company website to decide who will face Booker for the title at the top of the hour. With Goldberg heavily featured throughout the night, both his pay-per-view opponents were off the show, with Nash filming the TV series in LA and Steiner on vacation in Hawaii, with Nash in a shoot-sit-down interview on Thunder Wednesday setting the stage for the build-up to the match to take worked shoot angles to the next level, saying that the company never planned to bring Scott Hall back whether he won the match or not, saying that Hall and Nash jumping to WCW is what popped the company as everyone else from Hogan, Savage, Flair and Sting were already there and it was the outsiders that lit it on fire in mid-96, talking openly about his contract expiring in 17 months while hyping the 3-way match by implying that he was going over either by being booked to win or force it as a shoot. With the Booker title match promoted to start at the top of the hour, WCW updated on the poll results on the company website at 8:55 p.m. with Sting having a slight lead over Goldberg, with Booker hyping the match coming next with Nitro taking a commercial break seconds after Raw went on the air, returning for the poll results with Sting winning the voting before Goldberg as he promised took him out before getting to the ring, ending up with Goldberg challenging Booker on the spot saying that even if Booker has the belt he's still the man in the company, starting an impromptu match with Goldberg dominating until a referee stoppage to give Goldberg the win but not the title, setting up another Goldberg vs. Booker match for the main event. A day after an all-time great fully loaded pay-per-view, Mick Foley opened Raw hyping up the show, in particular Rikishi's jump from the top of the cage and the 2 closing matches of the night with Triple H vs. Jericho and Rock vs. Benoit, putting over Hunter and Jericho's performance in their last man standing match while saying that last night was also the first time since his retirement that he missed being in the ring when watching Rock and Benoit putting on one of the greatest WWF title matches of all time. Going over to tonight saying that Kurt Angle demanded a rematch against Taker to set up Angle vs. Taker for later in the show before being interrupted by Benoit and Shane saying that Benoit was screwed out of the title by Foley when he reversed the referee decision in the main event, demanding a title rematch against Rock with Raw's pay-per-view follow-up segment saw it starting with the highest opening quarter in over 2 months 5.7 rating. With WCW's domestic business significantly down from the peak period, the international market, as proven earlier in the year by massively successful tours in England and Germany, was still booming, with the company set to make its debut in Australia, including rare TV tapings set to air from the market for the first time, including 2 Nitro and 2 Thunder shows, and the Australia tour looks to be the most successful overseas tour in company history, with all tickets selling out pretty much the first day they were put on sale. Set to be a massive week for the company in mid-October in front of big crowds and near record gates. Raw's opening segment continued with Foley setting the two McMahons teaming up for the first time with Shane and Stephanie, set for a match later in the show, followed by Rock arriving to the building and a Road Dogg vs. Steve Blackman hardcore title match going 6 minutes, with Blackman going over to retain, jumping over 500,000 viewers to open a 6-2.5 rating margin. Nitro had a Mike Awesome vs. Shane Douglas match next, with the main thing promoted in the background being Kidman promising to show a tape of Tori with Mark Madden hyping it big throughout the show, with the match going 5 minutes before the start of the tape showed up on screen to lead to Nitro jumping to its highest opposed quarter of the night 2.7 rating, while Raw continued to climb with a 6.2 rating for the Shane and Stephanie tag match, with Lita coming out as the first opponent before Big Show made his TV return in a surprise to a big reaction going after Shane, starting a chase all over the building while Trish interfered against Lita to set up a match between them for later in the show, along with the entrances and start of a Godfather vs. Buchanan match with Godfather's character on the line. Nitro's final quarter saw one of its longest TV matches of the year so far, with a 4-way tag team cage match going 10 minutes, maintaining a 2.6 rating, with the Goldberg vs. Booker main event set to start and the overrun, closing the second hour after the match with another heat angle in the build-up to it, with Goldberg throwing Stevie Ray through a window backstage. Raw continued to gain in every quarter, jumping to a first-hour high between 9:45 to 10 p.m. first with Godfather against Bull Buchanan in Godfather's final match in his current character, with him set to turn heel to join the censorship group, playing off as a parody of the legit PTC complaints starting at the end of last year, followed by the promoted Undertaker vs. Kurt Angle match that turned into an angle shortly after, starting with Big Show and Shane's chase continuing into the ring to lead to a swerve of Show turning heel to attack Taker and rejoin Shane, jumping over 700,000 viewers to a 6.7 rating. The second now advertised Goldberg vs. Booker match entrances took place already past the top of the hour, with Booker attacking Goldberg during his entrance to start the match going 3 minutes, with Goldberg dominating again before being attacked by Jarrett and Kat to set up a surprise finish, with Booker pinning Goldberg in a rare career pinfall loss, with the match jumping over 700,000 viewers to a peak 3.1 rating, with Nitro overall rebounding from the last few weeks of time slots changes to its highest rated show in a month 2.8 rating. Raw crossed over 10 p.m. with the Taker beatdown continuing in the ring, followed by Shane and Angle attacking him again backstage before Shane left the building minutes after the turn, while the second half of the quarter now going unopposed with Nitro going off the air at 10:05 p.m. seeing Chris Jericho coming out for the Last Man Standing match follow-up promo, saying that last night was the most violent and greatest match of his career to date, while calling out Hunter to go again tonight, getting Hunter's response from the locker room telling Jericho that he proved him wrong with his performance but he's still not in his league, leading to Jericho going back to him to start a backstage brawl with Raw, which started bigger than usual with the first hour drawing its highest opposed hour in a month. 6.2 rating. Picked up into the 7 rating range with Nitro off the air to a 7.3 rating to start its second hour. Raw grew steadily and didn't drop below a 7.4 rating for the rest of the second hour, averaging a 7.5 rating overall to gain a significant percentage of the WCW audience at the peak of the show, first picking up with Taz vs Scotty, followed by Foley stopping Angle from leaving the building to book the main event for tonight with Rock and Kane against Angle and Benoit, while booking another tag match for the tag belts coming next with Edge and Christian defending against the Hardys and Dudleys in a match going 4 minutes that saw Edge and Christian retaining to start the build to the WrestleMania rematch between the teams at SummerSlam, in what is set to be the final pay-per-view in the USA Network era before the move to TNN, with USA meanwhile still not accepting the court ruling and appealed the decision with another hearing set for August 12 in what will cause a delay to the start of the major advertising campaign planned by Viacom heading into Raw's debut show in September. After one of the most watched hours in Raw history drawing over 9.2 million viewers, Raw jumped to a quarter-high 7.7 rating in the final quarter, starting with the Trish vs Lita strap match followed by the main event tag entrances taking place at 10:54 p.m., along with the first 3 minutes of the match starting fast with Rock and Benoit continuing the pace from last night, with the Rock and Kane vs Angle and Benoit tag match going 9 minutes to jump over 1.2 million viewers in total to a peak 8.4 rating in the 6-minute overrun, one of the top 5 most watched matches in Raw history with over 10.3 million viewers, ending up with Shane returning to take out Kane before laying out Rock with a new group of Angle Benoit. Shane closing the show on the ramp, as Raw with boosted interest coming off the fully loaded pay-per-view along with a massive second hour and main event viewership, jumped big to near record levels drawing a 6.9 rating. After Nash's talked about interview on Thunder last week not only blurred the lines of work and shoot but took the work-shoot concept of wrestling TV to another level, Bill Goldberg responded last Wednesday with a 10-minute shoot sit-down interview to counter Nash's claims while opening up on legit issues going on behind the scenes in a new mixture of work and shoot to play off real-life perceptions into the TV storyline, saying that Nash and Hall had ulterior motives since the first day he met them by trying to get him on their side politically, responding to Nash saying that he doesn't like the business and never paid his dues by saying that while his first goal was not to get into the wrestling business, he learned to appreciate it for giving him the opportunity which he capitalized on by becoming the top guy in the company, while Nash's animosity comes from jealousy after he surpassed him with only 3 years in the business, telling Nash not to talk about politics after Starrcade '98, which saw him breaking his streak 2 weeks after getting on their booking committee. and that he paid his dues on the football field while Nash was playing basketball in Europe, saying that viewers and promoters don't care about who paid his dues for 10-15 years and it's about drawing money, which he has done with only a year into his career. Closing the Nash response, continuing to hype a shoot confrontation at the pay-per-view, saying that he doesn't care about winning or losing the match as he's coming to take him out. Goldberg also addressed the legit assumption that he didn't want to turn heel, confirming that he's uncomfortable in the role but went with the idea that someone else suggested because he wanted to be a team player, saying that being more aggressive in the ring wasn't a problem but his main issue was turning on the fans, specifically as it interfered with his charity work with kids, which for him is the most important aspect of his career. With Nash 5 days after the interview came out in the final quarter of the first hour for the rebuttal promo, saying that sometimes in the business people exchange words and work themselves into a shoot, making reference to the only time he was not professional in the ring by bringing up a legit story of him shooting on Pierre Ouellet in the ring after refusing to do a job to him in Montreal when he was WWF champion in September '95. Responding to Goldberg's basketball claim, saying that he took out several NFL players and never lost a fight as a bouncer to continue the hype for a potential shoot fight between them. Nitro, which started with Booker saying that the people voted for Sting last week to get a title shot against him before the interference by Goldberg, saying that viewers will get the match they voted for tonight to set up a Sting vs Booker title match in the main event, with Jeff Jarrett building the heat for the pay-per-view, taking out Booker's wife, which saw him driving to the hospital to set up a Sting vs Jarrett match at the top of the hour, going 5 minutes with Sting going over in his TV return match, opening Nitro with a 2.5 rating to Raw's 4.8 in the closest margin of the night. Raw from Atlanta's Georgia Dome for the third time since October, coming in front of another sold-out crowd of over 25,000 to start with a hardcore tag match of DX against Steve Blackman and Al Snow going 6 minutes, while after weeks of speculation after the court case was settled, Raw's move to TNN got the official date with Monday, September 25th set up for Raw's big debut show, with USA Network's TV schedule listing a new show called Breaking the Magician's Code in Raw's 9 p.m. time slot on that Monday, with the last WWF show on USA set to be Heat on Sunday night, a day earlier on September 24th. Both companies started the show with a tribute to legendary announcer Gordon Solie, who passed away Friday morning, with both JR and Tony on the Raw and Nitro commentary tables calling Solie the greatest announcer of all time, who was a pioneer in the business and created many sayings that remain featured in the business for decades later, with Raw after opening the show with a match, having the lengthy promo segment taking place in the second quarter, with Triple H coming out to apologize to Stephanie after an angle with Trish last Thursday that saw Stephanie walking in just as Hunter showed her some holds, ending up with Foley finally coming out to end it, saying that they're boring over 25,000 people in attendance before mocking Hunter by showing the footage again, booking the main event for tonight with a Rock and Lita vs Hunter and Stephanie tag match, with this segment opening the gap between the shows after the closer first quarter, jumping over 1.5 million viewers to a 6.1 rating, while Nitro fell to a 1.9. Next on Nitro was a Shane Douglas vs Billy Kidman Viagra on a pole match, with Mark Madden on commentary jokingly talking about the long history of the match stipulation, saying how all the biggest stars of the past participated in it in legendary matches, ending up with Kidman getting the bottle but Douglas going over, followed by Scott Steiner's entrance and pre-match promo for the Nash match coming next. Raw continued to climb throughout the first hour, picking up another 500,000 viewers to a first-hour high 6.4 rating, featuring an Edge and Christian vs Hardy's tag match going 5 minutes, continuing the build-up for the Triple Team WrestleMania rematch for SummerSlam, with the match ending in a DQ with both Edge and Christian smashing Jeff Hardy's head with chairs to establish their part in the upcoming TLC debut. After the intrigue created from the new shoot-style Nash and Goldberg interviews, WCW promoted a similar sit-down interview scheduled for Vince Russo this Wednesday, heavily hyping it as the first time Russo will speak since the Bash at the Beach angle, along with his response to Goldberg after talks of their creative dispute last Monday was heating up to the point that Russo thought that Goldberg will legitimately shoot on him when trying to convince him to do the job for Booker in the TV main event, with Nitro starting a loaded final quarter with 2 high-profile matches back-to-back, first with Nash vs Steiner in a straitjacket match, going 6 minutes with Rick interfering for the finish, followed by the entrances and start of the Booker vs Sting WCW title main event, leading to Nitro having its biggest viewership gain of the night with over 800,000 viewers to a 2.6 rating in a direct turnover from Raw, which dropped to a 5.8. With Raw's quarter mainly in 2 commercial breaks along with backstage segments and the entrances of the Angle and Benoit vs Dudley's tag match. Nitro went 5 minutes past 10 p.m. with the continuation of the Sting-Booker match going 5 minutes to end up with Booker going over clean in another surprise finish, putting Booker over strong with 2 pinfall victories in main events over Goldberg and Sting in back-to-back weeks, with Booker vs Sting along with the post-match angle of Vampiro attacking Sting and Jarrett returning to the building, picking up over 700,000 viewers to a 3.1 rating. While Raw's top-of-the-hour quarter, which included 10 minutes unopposed, jumped over 1 million viewers to a 6.6 rating for a Kurt Angle and Chris Benoit vs Dudley's tag match going 7 minutes, followed by another Hunter Stephanie segment recreating the skit from SmackDown. As WCW was experimenting with new elements to the TV product in recent weeks in the build-up to the Goldberg-Nash-Steiner match, the WWF went with a completely different direction by for the first time getting into politics on the Raw broadcast, with updates from Michael Cole and Linda McMahon from the Republican National Convention in Philadelphia, as with the company's status and influence as a mainstream TV powerhouse at its peak. The WWF brought up its potential influence on the next president, noting that over 14 million eligible voters watch WWF programming on a weekly basis, starting a political campaign called SmackDown Your Vote to encourage viewers to vote in the upcoming election, with Rock set to make a major crossover appearance on Wednesday after being invited to speak at the Republican convention, as JR and King on commentary noted that the WWF will also make an appearance at the Democratic convention as to not alienate or pick sides, with the company's involvement making headlines in both parties, including from the critical PTC, which sent complaints to advertisers on Raw and SmackDown since late last year, which the WWF currently openly mock on TV, with Stevie Richards' new character and the formation of the Right to Censor group, with perhaps the biggest one mocking the PTC being the Republican presidential candidate, which publicly invited Rock to be one of the headliners of the convention. Rock and Lita vs Triple H and Trish main event entrances took place less than 5 minutes to the top of the hour, with Rock coming out for the first time on the night at 10:58 p.m. to a huge ovation from the Georgia Dome to start the match, almost already in the overrun, going 6 minutes, with the match showing massive interest spiking huge in minutes, way above the overall show's average, to jump over 2 million viewers from a 6.9 final quarter to a peak 8.5 rating in the 6-minute overrun, averaging over 10.7 million viewers to become one of the most watched matches in Raw and wrestling on cable television in general, ending up with Rock and Triple H exchanging shots, including Hunter clotheslining Lita and Rock giving Trish a spine buster for the finish, closing the show with Rock laying out Hunter on Trish to continue the angle from Thursday, with Raw remaining strong after the near-record number of last week with a 6.4 rating overall.